Good afternoon. This is a subcommittee meeting of the Ways and Means Committee. I would like to start by saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In attendance today is myself, John Kingston. I'm the subcommittee chair. Stacy Bronson Rizzo is a member, and also Anthony Caggiano. Also present is, I'm just going to go in order of the room if that's okay. Mr. Fred Sinella, Mayor Pat Keefe, Aisha Milbury-Ellis, Dr. Kelly, Matt Cruz, and Danielle McCarthy. I'd like to start the meeting. I looked long and hard at the cuts that were presented at the last meeting. I would really like to see the health techs put back into the budget. I think they perform an important function. I believe that finding nurses is a very difficult thing. I had a parent say, well, they're not really nurses. And I said, yeah, they are. And I was really taken back by that. And I thought it was kind of insulting. But I think they need that support. And like I said, we're having trouble finding nurses as it is to make the job even harder. I just don't agree. So I would like to put those positions back in the budget. And I had some questions about the junior ROTC. I know there was an opening there. Someone was, I guess, leaving or whatever. So we were going from 3 to 2. But I was wondering what the impact on that program would be. I was never in the service. It's something that maybe was a shortcoming on my part. Maybe I should have joined. But I think it's a great program. I think it's one of the best things we've ever had. I've often said to Dr. Garcia, it's one of the nicest programs I think we have at the high school. I know it was started when he was principal here. And I'd hate to see that program impacted in any way. I think they do an awful lot of good in the community. I think they look favorably in the community. And I would hate to cut that. I just think, and I'll tell a small story. They were doing their snow angel thing in my neighborhood, and there was a bunch of kids, and I was outside shoveling, and they didn't help me, and that's fine. I reached to my wallet, and I was going to give them money to get pizza and soda, and they said, we can't take it. And I said, of course you can. You guys are working hard. I know you're doing a good job. Please take the pizza and the soda. And they said, we can't. Major Bulker would kill us. So I saw the sergeant major about, I don't know, maybe a week, 10 days later, an event, and I said, I try to give you kids money. And she said, did they take it? Did they take it? And I said, no, they refused. And they said they couldn't, you'd killed them. And she said, that's right. So I don't think I get that much respect from my own kids. I'm sure if someone gave my son money to go buy pizza, even today, he'd be like, I'll sign me up for pizza. So I don't think cutting that program. The other question I have for Dr. Kelly is, how is that funded? Like, do we pay for it? Does the Army pay for some of it? I don't know how that works.
So the salaries of the JROTC instructors are split between the municipality and the Army. So we each pay 50% of the cost, and that's one of the adjustments that you'll see in the budget when we were trying to really get down to exact numbers between version 1 and version 3. We had appropriated, well, we had listed for appropriation the full salary for Bowker and
70,000. Yeah, that's what I saw.
yeah, and so we actually cut that number in half so that it would represent only the portion of the budget of their salary that we have to pay, and the rest of their salary will come from the grants from the Army. The number of instructors required is based on the enrollment, and we've had some decline in enrollment in JROTC over the last number of years, and we've been talking to Major Bowker, who of course is in charge of the program, about that over the last few years, and she understands that our necessity right now is to have 2 instructors, and we can still serve the kids that want to be enrolled in JROTC. It is my hope, like you, John, that we can garner more engagement and support in that program, and hopefully come to a place where we are required to have a 3rd instructor. But right now we're not there. And so it makes sense to where I'm gonna forget his rank, where Burke has decided to move on. Where Burke has decided of his own volition to move on, to not fill that position at this time, especially given the budget that we're
I just think
confronted
to
with
pay
right now.
35,000 or so for an adult is not a lot of money today. So I don't think, I mean, I'm just speaking for myself, obviously, but I think.
I think the 70 might be the half that we pay, not the whole salary. I think that if you look at
Well, I thought
version
you said-
3,
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I don't have it. I haven't. Yeah, I looked at it, but I didn't look at that particular. Right.
Is that, would that include benefits then as well, probably?
yes, yeah.
It could, that could be. the total package.
Correct, yeah.
Could you show us something with the decline enrollment or something over the last 2 or 3 years? I mean, not right now, in front of us, I'm just saying.
Yep,
Because there's people that have inquired about it.
okay. Who's inquiring about it?
I had a parent reach out to me,
Okay,
well, a former
And what was
parent,
their
a former
concern?
parent, actually. She
Former
just thought we
parent,
were
okay.
hurting the program. And she said,
Okay.
"Do you realize what you're doing?" And I said, "Well, I said, I'll be honest with you, it was televised, it wasn't a secret, but someone was leaving, so we were trying to not staff positions that when someone was leaving, but she said, you're really hurting them. It was a parent. She said, you're really hurting the program. So I was like, okay. I said, I wasn't aware of that, so we're having a meeting. I'll talk about it because I don't know that much all about it.
I will say I know of 5 students that left between the beginning of this year and last year. And I was very disappointed because I thought it was something that they really would have gained a lot out of the maturing. So I mean, I'm sure there's good and bad on both sides. But if the numbers are saying we're declining,
Yeah, I agree with.
yeah, and I don't see how it can hurt how it could ruin the program, because the 2 that are on it still do an amazing job.
Right, but isn't there something?
and we initially had to, that's how we started the
Well, we
program.
But I
always
thought
had
the,
two.
but I
And
thought
then
the
it-
program grew, and that's why we had.
That's my question.
Well, we have 1.
Right, yeah, I was gonna ask the same question. When did we switch to?
last?
I would have to look at it, do you recall offhand? I wanna say maybe 5 years ago, 6 years
Mhm.
ago?
We've had 3 for quite a while. I mean,
Yeah.
just from, I don't know much about them, I just from sporting events.
Yeah,
You know, you go to a football or basketball game and they're doing the thing and you see the 3 of
No,
them.
they do a
sometimes.
wonderful job, there's no doubt. I'll just say this, and this, I think this is probably the narrative for the entire budget. And I'm not gonna speak for you, Dr. Kelly, but we have the city side is, it's a tough decision to make when you're eliminating a position, but it's certainly a lot easier when the position's vacant. Rather than pulling someone that's actually here, and I know that those might be some choices that the school has to make, and the city has a little bit of that as well. Obviously, we both started, just so everyone's aware. State funding was a lot different this year than it was in the past years for both the city side and the school side. So it makes you take a hard look, but the big budget busters really were health insurance. Health insurance rose 17%. That's unsustainable. And if you do double-digit increases year over year, it's totally unsustainable. And then you throw in the transportation hit, between the city and the school, it's a lot. So it's always, what string are you gonna pull? Because you're pulling it and it's just taken from something else. So if you fund the position, and I'm not saying, we fund the position, ROTC, whatever position that we've been presented with, it's just gonna, what position do you, the deal is what position do you wanna cut? Because you have to cut something when you have a 7 million, potentially a $7 million deficit, I think you started with.
We started with, yeah,
So something has to give, and I'll just say that it's a lot easier to pull a position that's not, is vacant right now. Than to actually look someone in the eye and say, you have to go. And that may have to happen in some cases as well, but I think it's justified. I'm just gonna say, I think it's justified. And that's where I think you've done a pretty good job of taking away all of the open positions.
Mhm.
I'm not saying I don't think anyone's happy with it, right? I think that we all have to take a hard look, and maybe there's other recommendations, so I don't know if you have a recommendation.
I have a recommendation to keep it. I guess
Do you have any
my,
recommendations on cuts, because how do you find $7 million?
we have district reserves to use. And if it's, again, I don't know what the number is. I don't think that person's making hold on. I don't think that person's making 140 grand. I would be shocked. So half of that would be 70. I guess, I don't know what page it's on the budget. Maybe you can find it quicker than me, but.
Page.
I saw the 70 in I went through what I did is I took the list of cuts that you gave us the last meeting and I looked at each one. And then a parent reached out to me about the junior ROTC and,
At the bottom of page 57,
thank you.
you'll see those 2 positions. So they're each around $64,000 is our half for 2.
Including benefits, right? Yeah.
The calculation here is provided to us by the Army. So I don't know everything that goes into their full cost for the staff. I just know that the reimbursement comes in at 50%.
Before we go any further, I asked Diane and Matt to put something together on our budget per se. So our initial working deficit. So these are the exact numbers that we have and we're dealing with. And you'll see at the bottom where it says deficit version,
So next.
that's where we have to, give it to our district reserve.
Right,
So the initial working deficit is 12.3 million. Minus the $5 million carryover, which is 7.3. A budget reduction is 4.1 and change, so the bottom line deficit, version is 3.4 million. So that's the number we're really working with, that we have to use, unless we make any more cuts, that will be taken from our district reserve.
So can I just make a suggestion? I know there's a lot that we'd like to look into. You had brought up health technicians, you had brought up junior ROTC. If we could at least have columns of what we definitely agree with and what we're questioning, if we have to come down to the hard facts.
I was,
Um,
for me, I was fine with the rest of them, it was just those two that were a problem for me. The rest of it,
but what about anything else in the budget? Are you just going by?
I was using the superintendent's recommendation, except for those two
Mhm.
areas, which I didn't agree with. Because I felt, again, the health techs provided a service to the nurses, which we struggle with. And also the junior ROTC, I think they do a tremendous job in the city, and I don't think that's something that I'd like to see cut.
I do think everyone does a tremendous job in the city. I mean, and
I would agree with that too.
Speaking of health techs, there's not gonna be anyone in this room that's closer to the health techs than the nurses, no matter what you say. And health techs are not nurses,
Understand?
because you had said it earlier, so I just wanted to clarify that.
What did I say?
You said they're nurses.
No, someone said that the school nurse isn't really a nurse, and I didn't think that was right.
Yeah.
I didn't say the health techs were nurses, no. If I did, I misspoke. I apologize.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, some people don't look at school nurses with the same magnifying glasses they look at other people in the district, but I do know we have 7 left. I do know we're not in COVID anymore, but we're talking $20 an hour position, which is really, and a lot of them aren't taking benefits. So I think it's small money. I'd like to see this on like the back burner, or if it's not a full-time position, they might not want to even keep it. I think they should be, anything should be part-time.
Then, you mean some of them might wanna go to part-time, is that what you're saying?
Well, the health techs,
Yeah.
if you want to keep a health tech position, because a lot of times we don't have coverage when nurses are out. But if we have part-time health techs, like we did in the past, they can cover while a nurse is at a different school.
Well, so we actually have not had a problem with coverage this year. Since we had the 2 float nurses. We've been virtually covered everywhere. Very rarely have we been uncovered. There have been occasions when, for instance, the nurse at Garfield Middle School covered for the nurse at Garfield Elementary while she had to leave for an hour and a half at the end of the day. And there were vice versa. There have been times when the nurse at Garfield Elementary covered for the nurse at Garfield Middle while she went to the wellness meetings, for a couple of hours, a couple times. Over the course of the year. But, overall, we've got, is it 14 nurses, Matt? Remember offhand the exact number?
We're gonna have 14 with the
15.
one coming from,
Oh, right, it's gonna be 15, right.
no, it'll be
What-
14.
If we were 14 and a half, it's gonna be 15.
We're
For
not
our
gonna put, we're not
7,300
replacing pick at all.
she's gonna become a full-time position and be moving between the PIC and coverage. There will be, let me phrase that differently. There will be a full-time position that moves between the PIC and coverage for nurses. So, I believe the recommended ratio is 1 nurse per 750 kids. Which would mean that in order for us to be sufficiently staffed according to the state guidelines, we would need to have 9 nurses. We have 15. And then when you add, the health tax to that, oh, it's not in here either. I was looking for how much we, spent for the health aides.
The last, it was 360, the last one, but that was for 7, and I think there's only 6 now.
360,000, right?
Yeah, it was on the, I'm going off that, I didn't
That
bring it up,
sounds
but
right to
that was
me.
on the sheet. I'm sorry, I was running late, I was working and I had to get there by 4:30, so, but I looked at the sheet. Yeah.
I mean, and I don't
we
think
do
it's
have
something
district-
for now, if we can look at it as one of those, if we have to, we have to. I mean, like an A, B, and C column.
Yes,
Can I just make, I just wanna make a blanketed statement. Most of you probably won't agree with this, but these are just my thoughts and thinking about this budget. There's no doubt that, Dr. Kelly, you put significant work into these recommendations, and I agree with the strategy on this, and we're moving a lot of the, open positions that are not filled yet. I guess my only issue is this, is that we have over 3 million in deficit. I don't like the thought of going into our reserves, because I'm just thinking down the road, like, this is giving me anxiety, just thinking about
Same.
what we're in for. My only, and I know you're gonna hate to hear this is my only suggestion, is that the first to go, and it's not particular to any person, it has more so to do with, we have to make certain cuts, would be non-facing positions, in particular for me, the district-wide coaches, excluding ELA and excluding math. I know it's a hard thing to say, and maybe nobody wants to articulate those words, but cuts have to be made, and we just have to take another look to, I think, to make more cuts, because this is the time to do it, right? We can't do it next year, we can't do it the year after. This is the time to do it, to set us up for the future. And I just think we probably need to be a little bit more conservative for what it's worth.
And if I could just add to, and I'm not specific to positions, I'll just say that if we think that 2 years from now, a position isn't necessary, the position should be determined today, or not today, but this year, rather than bleed it out slowly. It's more of a make the decision now, and I'll just say, I'm gonna use this. This is why I'm making this, this is why I'm presenting a choice on the transportation. You know, we are putting ourselves into an unsustainable position with transportation. So rather than bleed it out and make the decision in 2 years, make the decision today. Rather than, I would just say, waste that money over the next 2 years when we know that it likely has to go away. It's unsustainable. And it's not required, it's to the requirement level. And I'll just say, we always want to do what we're required to do. When we can go above and beyond, we certainly should. But if we're deficit spending, when we don't have to, we can't. Like, it's just a responsible thing to do. It's not for what we want to do. We all want to hug them all and give them everything and give and provide, but when we can't, we can't. So don't prolong it and take $2 million of reserve to prolong an inevitable. And that's where I'm coming out with the transportation. Tough decisions, maybe not popular, but it's the right thing to do. And I know that it's difficult, but it is the right thing to do. It's probably gonna save us in the long run. And, you know, I'll just say, I drove by the Polyville School today. There were 7 transportation vehicles in front of the Polyville School today. 7 at 8:05. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. Was the entire school on a bus today? I don't think so. So I
Well, the
wonder.
Pollard Vehicle serves Oak Island and.
I
Pine, and
understand,
there are
I
a lot of
understand, but I
kids.
think that if we look at efficiencies, then we look at actually how it's built up. We'll
It's
probably
also-
find redundancies in our transportation.
It's also a full inclusion school, which includes a lot of our special needs kids
I-
at that
and-
grade level, and
and
some of them need unique.
And we are absolutely
Transportation.
required to fund our special needs transportation, and we have funding sources for that. It's the ancillaries that we have to make a tough decision. Just making that as a statement, and Aisha brought up when it came to make the decision now. And we deal with it all at once, and then we move on, so we don't have to spend a little now that we know we're gonna cut next year. If we're gonna make a cut next year, cut today, do it today. We'll save twice as much.
So I think if I can just respond to that, we have to think a little bit differently about education because it's services that are being provided to kids. And as long as we can and are able to serve them, we should be serving them. And so what that means is, I get what you're saying, Aisha, about the coaching positions, and maybe I don't disagree that it might be time to look at all of those positions and see which ones are serving us well. And which ones might be time to sunset.
They might be serving us.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure that, no, I take that back. I believe that they served a purpose, and I
Mhm.
believe that they were great. I'm just looking at it as like a luxury, if you will,
Well,
given that-
so, right, and so it's considered a luxury, right? But when you have new novice teachers in the classroom who don't necessarily have a clear understanding of student management. Or maybe they do understand management, but they don't understand how to work with EL students. Or maybe they understand how to work with EL students, but they're not very good at differentiation for the special needs kids. That's where the coaches come in. And having one coach who can serve, especially for our traditional coaching positions, 50 or 60 teachers has a huge impact on student achievement. And it's one of the reasons that I think that the Revere Public Schools is one of the highest rated urban districts in the state. It's because we have that job embedded professional development that ensures that all of our teachers have a really high quality experience and can teach at a level that we need them all to teach at. You get rid of all of those coaches, all of you novice teachers are gonna feel less supported. They're gonna struggle to thrive as they're understanding how to do a really complex, complicated job. And you're gonna see the impact of that on student results. So when I think about it from an educational perspective, what do I think is more necessary? Coaches or the health aides that we introduced to help combat COVID? I feel like there's two different decisions to be made there. And even if there is a decision that we need to have fewer coaches, I would say that those health aides, as helpful as they are, that's 3 teaching positions.
I agree, it's two different. I'm not, my suggestion and my statement was not in response to the health aides, it was just like overall. Thoughts that I was having
Yeah.
with respect to this budget.
Mr. Chairman,
You might have some shit.
Dr. Kelly, I noticed that we have mentors too, so I'm wondering, I just want to know what the difference is
Yeah.
between, and believe me, I have 2 personal members in the coaching position. They don't lose a job, they have a job
That's right.
somewhere, so it's not, I'm not doing this personally.
Yeah.
But I would like to know the difference between what a mentor is going to offer with the stipend that they're getting
Yeah.
and what the coaches would be doing.
Yeah. So the mentors typically give guidance to new employees on what the evaluation protocol looks like. What resources we have here in the district so that they know how to get additional assistance for their students or for whatever they may need. Simple things like where do I make photocopies at the beginning of the year? All of that stuff going on and on and on throughout the year. A mentor is a teacher who's teaching all day. They have an opportunity to meet with their mentee, what they're charged with doing for it's about $2,500 a year that they get, is meeting with their mentee for 1 hour a week. To go in and observe a lesson, give feedback on the lesson, or coach the mentee through doing their self-assessment for the evaluation, things of that nature, helping them prepare for what they should expect at their evaluation meeting. A coach, on the other hand, has the whole day to do that kind of work and can come in and observe multiple classes with one teacher and give feedback to the teacher on how things are different for different groups of kids. I'm thinking more at the secondary level where the teachers have different groups of kids every period. And can do more of that content level work, especially around ELA or literacy and math. It's much more intensive and content specific than what the mentor is doing. We do try to align mentors by grade level or subject area, but that doesn't always happen. Sometimes there's a history teacher whose mentor is a math teacher. And that math teacher is not going to help that history teacher understand how to deliver instruction, but they are going to help them understand a lot of other stuff that they need to know. As we're also required by state law to have mentors. So we do make sure that we do that.
Yeah, the stipend was low, so I knew they couldn't
Yeah,
have a
it's not
lot.
the same level of
of
intensity.
influence.
Yeah,
And they're done at the end of the year. That person moves on.
correct.
Right.
Yeah,
The support kind of, I mean, they might reach out to, it's a personal thing, but as far as, they got a fresh batch of teachers coming in, so they drop the beat.
Get ready.
I can share if it's helpful. I was speaking to one of the deeper learning coach earlier this week and asked her to send me if she had anything, and she had a couple of surveys that she was working on with students and teachers, and I can send those to the committee if you think that'll be helpful to see what data she collected and the impacts that had on the classroom for the particular teachers that she was working with.
Yes.
If I may, through the superintendent, you keep referring to cuts the last thing and the only thing I saw was 22 teachers filling vacancies. Is there anything else that's been come up since that publication?
No, it's all been vacancies that we were looking to reduce, or if not a vacancy, a place where a teacher might be replaced, for example. And I did give the same example last time at the Beachmont, where we have 40 kids slated to go into 3 5th grades.
Oh, I understand that, but I hear conversation that transportation, this cut, that cut. I don't hear any input from members of the committee as to what could be or should be. I can only speak for myself. When you created the 3 new positions, as I don't even know if they're assistant principals or whatever.
Mhm.
That's $500,000 right there. They've been in the system 8 months, 7 months. I mean, if you're looking for a big cut without cutting lesser people, I mean, you can only shore up what you have to a point. To me personally, and I'm sure you can defend it. If they were not to come back in September, the system would still function. So I think we're moving 20,000 in paper supplies, we're moving something from here to there. That's nickel and dime stuff.
Yeah, to answer your question, Fred, the only other thing that has changed
Yeah.
since that last time we met was that. With the mayor's office introduced, that $258,000 additional dollars through Schedule 19, which adds to our deficit and brings it to the 3.469 number that's on the bottom of the page that Anthony gave out. That's been the only other thing, but all of the things that we're talking about, like if we do reinstate the health tax, that's gonna make that number go to 3.8 something. Because
But
that's
see, you're talking
360.
health techs, you're talking Rossi, you're talking that are definitely addressing needs of the students. We're in as 3 positions. I mean, 1 assistant, 2 assistants, 3 assistants, to me is overkill. Top heavy, I'm
And
sorry.
Okay. This is how I feel, and you, please tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do we have more middle school? What's the biggest? Based on my experience of 25 years of going to new teacher orientation, the most number of teachers we've hired are always middle school.
Lately, yep.
And my thought was, when those positions were created, and I'll explain what my logic was, because I voted for it. I felt that having that extra admin, so when a teacher is in, I won't say crisis, but a teacher's having an issue with the student, it gives them another body to contact. Because that operation person is taking care of something that one of those other assistants would, and then they're able to deal with it, and they're able to be in the hallways a little more and be around students. So, that's what kind of sold me on that. From my experience, and I could be wrong, Dr. Kelly can tell me if I am, we have more middle school turnover of teachers than we have anything else. Elementary, in my opinion, is fairly stable, maybe a pregnancy or something like that, but for the most part, elementary is fairly stable. The high school is what it is, but middle school is where we have all the turnover, or the bulk of the turnover. And I think that's true.
Yeah, and I think Danielle
And I
can
think, hold on,
speak.
but I think it's, the reason I wanted to add that position after it was your idea, not mine, but I supported it. Because I know that that's where we have a lot of teachers leaving, and I think, I'll be honest, I think a lot of them leave because of the behavior of the kids. I'm not blaming the kids, that's a tough age. Middle
Like
school,
my own kids at that. age.
middle stuff, and they didn't like you, no offense, they didn't like me either. No, they didn't like me either. Middle school's a tough time. I read it was in the Globe the other day, puberty's coming, actually, they're finding that puberty's coming even at a younger age. So we might have problems, in elementary going forward. But to me, having an extra body, so that the other 3 can kind of do their thing and get away from their desk. Because that's basically what it is. An operations person's sitting behind the desk a little more. It's enabling the other 3 to get on the.
And get into the classrooms.
And get in the classrooms and help the staff.
Yeah,
So I don't have a problem adding, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a problem adding, and maybe someone does, it's just my opinion. If I added 400,000 to the deficit and I have to look at that again next year, I will. But no one's got a crystal ball and is gonna tell me what we're having for numbers next year. You're not,
right.
because we don't know what the state's gonna do, what the federal government's gonna do. So yeah, if we add 400,000 to the deficit, we take it out of, I'm gonna call it the pie. We take it out of the pie for this year and we look at it again next year. That's what I was gonna vote for. I don't have any problems too much. I understand about the coaches. I think after this year, we'll have a little more, maybe, I don't wanna say stable workforce, but we're gonna shrink a little bit, I would say. so there'll be less new teachers, I would say, because we're gonna have to bring some in. Well, we're gonna, yeah, but I mean, if you need a math teacher, you're gonna have to hire it.
Correct,
But,
true.
but in my opinion, the workforce, I don't wanna say stable, but the workforce will be less,
Transient?
yeah. Well,
Yeah, I
you know,
wish.
the people that were here, hopefully were staying a second year, and they, you know, hopefully they'll be, you know, another year under their belt. So I understand what you're saying, but I don't think we're that top heavy, especially middle schools, middle school's tough. And if you teach middle school today, I give you a lot of credit. Cause it's difficult. The kids are going through an awful lot. And they always did. So that's where the turnover is. And if I can support those people, that was my thought when you brought it up. Cause at first I felt the same way you did, but it was explained very well to me. I thought you did a very good job on that. And that's why I supported it. And I think they need it. So,
And I'll just pass that credit on to the middle school principals, who were the ones that were saying, you can't function like this anymore, we need help. So,
yes, which is-
So, again, I'm going to agree with Fred if we're gonna be talking cuts. They're not losing their jobs, they're gonna go back into whatever role they might have before. I do feel that is a luxury. We talked about it because of the attendance, but then we talk about the attendance rise, and we talk about the family liaisons, I can't say the words, so skip it. They help with the attendance. So, and I know at one of the schools, the operational director is introduced as the assistant principal, which is
really,
not the case. But you know what? It's only a title. It's still the same amount of money, whatever title you give. I do have to agree, if we have to look at cuts and look at it, you know, a larger portion, I do agree there. I do agree with the mayor as far as transportation. A lot of these families are getting, it's a luxury. It's so for someone to get something from Oak Island and they're not within the 2 miles, you might be taking something away from another student that might want it to be in junior ROTC. So I look at, I would like, if we're going to make cuts, let's start there and try to train the families. I mean, they took it hard the last time. I didn't want to be you, I didn't want to be Denise or anyone, because it was hard, but I think that's. You can't do it next year, you can't do it the year, you gotta just do it, this is budget cuts, we're trying to save people's positions. And I also agree with Aisha as far as the reserves, I don't want to go into the reserves. And then also your comment about. I wouldn't compare a health aide to a coach. It's totally two
Right.
opposite amounts of money, two career paths.
totally, yeah, no, I agree with that, but my point in making that, Stacy, was. When we hired the health aides, it was to help us with COVID. The whole purpose for having them has thankfully gone away.
But there's a lot we hired because of COVID and that's some money. I mean, our psychologists, our social workers, we hired a lot, but we're gonna hit the $20 an hour person. You know, and I'm not saying we need all of them. And some of them do get benefits, some don't take benefits. I just think,
That's it,
it's a smaller piece of the puzzle. There's so many other bigger ones that we can garnish more money for the budget.
I'm not comfortable with having a 6-year-old walk from Oak Island to the Torrey Valley
But
School.
they won't be. If the parent did that,
But what if the parent has to work?
I'm sorry, your priority is to your child first, and we're assuming that's what they're going to do, and I don't think that's fair either.
I don't want an email from Dr. Belushi that a 6-year-old got hit by a car going to school because we didn't provide transportation. Sorry, I
What's the
understand.
difference between a 6-year-old walking from Oak Island or walking from Riviera Beach or walking from
Yeah.
Park Ave or
everywhere.
Lincoln Street? I mean, they're all, listen, no 6-year-old should be walking from Oak Island. I don't think anyone disagrees with that, but we have busy streets all across our community. You can't just distinguish.
Well, I'm using
one from
that
the other.
because, I'm
It's a
using that
hot- it's
But
because,
I understand it's a busy highway, but so is a lot of our.
well, I think that's the problem with the
Last year,
transportation.
an 8-year-old got hit by a car walking from Vinnie's Market
Yeah,
across New York to go
Swire
to
Roads,
Wayland.
But,
I mean,
you know, and we're not the city of Boston by any stretch of the imagination, but, you know, this is. Our transportation budget has blown up and it's unsustainable. It's just, the truth. It's unsustainable. We're not in the transportation business. We struggle. There's a monopoly out there. I'll say it right there. The transportation companies are completely abusing the system. And that's
Always.
just simple as that. Anyone has a problem with that, they can call me. I've even reached out to, people to look into it. But we can't keep funding a bad operation. And it just, so, the choices and the school has that decision. You're given a pot of money to work with, you're gonna work with it. The city can't fund any more of like, you can't ask the taxpayers, the 60-something thousand taxpayers in the city to keep funding this operation. And then on top of it, fund $160 million school. It's just not fair. And then on top of it, in 3 years, pay for a brand new high school. It's not okay. And so that doesn't mean we want to see kids walking from Oak Island. But those might be case by case basis. Another symptom of this whole problem is the lottery. The lottery is antiquated. It doesn't work anymore. It's causing us to have to bus people from one side of the city to the other. I've never gotten a call. I've been elected for 10 years. I've been in the city for 21 years. I've never received a call from one person to say, thank you for that lottery. Never once. But I get 400 calls a year saying, get rid of the lottery. So are we gonna have the discipline to say, it's time to separate ourselves from the lottery? That costs an additional $1.5 million, $2 million a year in school transportation.
So-
I mean,
Well,
and then you get the
congratulations, I've
kid-
been doing
and then
this
they
for
get from Oak
14
Island and get the
years.
bus.
All together.
It's all the lever. There's a string to everything. Do you want the kid from Oak Island to get the bus, or do you want the kid that lives across the street from the Susan B. Anthony School to get it to Garfield?
I didn't say anything about the lottery.
I'm just saying, but those are the tough decisions that
I
unfortunately,
understand.
when times are good, we're all great. And
Yeah.
this is where it comes down to. When times are good, the job is easy. When times are a little bit tougher, we have to make tough decisions.
If I may, we should be talking about this tomorrow.
Sure.
It doesn't affect our budget right now. That's
Yeah.
not part of our budget. And I'm
I just don't-
sure, I understand what you're
And
saying.
with all due respect, I understand that too. I just don't wanna bring up this topic of a child getting hit by a walking to school. Because it's like a scare tactic.
Mhm.
So that we should bus everyone to school, and then a kid gets run over by a bus in Boston. I mean, what, a 5-year-old is not a fact, it's a really scary subject to bring up. And then to say that if we decide to not bus every student in the city, that someone can get hit. Someone can get hit walking out of the house tomorrow, someone could fall down a flight of stairs. We can't wrap kids up in bubble wrap either.
So just as an FYI to everybody, Matt and I did meet with Jay Sullivan and a couple of the other people from the Department of Education this afternoon. And one thing they clarified for us is that the state law actually says you only need to transport kids in kindergarten through grade 6.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yes, correct.
So I think Anthony's right that we should hold this conversation about transportation for tomorrow.
Mhm.
But there is, I think, some information that the committee and the mayor will need to work through around what they want to provide for services and how much that's gonna cost. They've also agreed to schedule a meeting with us so we can talk more in depth about all of this stuff. I'm gonna get in touch with Linda tomorrow, and we can schedule that for the last week in June.
And again, I'm not trying to be too problematic with this. I'm just trying to be real. I grew up in an urban community and I walked to school. And when I wasn't able to walk to school because of the weather, I either I joined with a friend or I took the MBTA bus. I know times have always changed. I think we all feel the same way, but no other community surrounding us spends their money in transportation like we do. None, zero, not Everett, not Malden, not Chelsea, not Winthrop, not Sardis. We're the only community that spends this much money of straight taxpayer money, not school money, on transportation. It's not sustainable. I'm just trying to be honest with you. And we're no other community.
One thing I will say, I do agree with you. Being on the other regional locations, the schools and stuff, there are budget cuts, and I agree with you 100%. But I just look at, when Melrose cuts, and Stone cut, I just think we've been a little bit different. We have rotaries and everything, so everybody has their own personal, to say about it.
I know that was brought up the last time too, but like, did anyone worry about all the streets off of Shirley Ave? They had to go across Bell Circle just to get
I
to
worry.
school?
About that every day.
Well, we all worry about it, but we didn't get them a bus to get there, or we didn't get them a
They still
crossing
don't have a
guard.
bus.
Huh?
They don't have a bus.
And the
right
cars
now.
don't even
have a
stop.
bus.
Do you know how many times
Yeah.
cars don't stop for those kids? I'm like, you
No,
gotta be
The
kidding.
worst.
Kids
I
live
mean-
over at Revere Beach Parkway, walk to school.
And us Everett kids know better than anyone. Your parents didn't even drive you. Well, in my day, parents didn't drive you. You walked in the winter. You walked, I mean.
Yeah.
You walked.
I don't know, I guess, does this committee, does the committee have any recommendations or of any?
I, my two
Areas that-
recommendations are what I started the meeting with. I'd like to return the
But
health
that's
tax.
putting money back in, it's not necessarily making a cut, so that's.
Yeah.
why
I
I'm
wanted
asking
to bring
about,
up a
You
position
know,
and I don't want to be
cuts.
the bad person, but. Or if we can get more information on the communication coordinator. I'm really not sure and I haven't seen, and I advocated for this for. At least over a year, but I don't see what we're getting out of it. So
Are
if
you
we,
following on the social media?
It's
yeah,
only-
but I can
only-
do that.
It's still, we still don't have a Facebook page.
You did,
No, we don't.
1000%, and the link was sent to you months ago, ages ago.
I think things just get maybe lost in the way it's sent out. It's sent out and like,
There's no
I had no
Facebook
clue.
page, but in, no Instagram, and don't get me wrong, only us older people kind of use it. But that's your
That's the parents.
parents, your families,
because she said we have.
I mean, I
Yeah, we
get
have had it
Everett, I
since-
get
yeah.
Maltons all the time.
Are you subscribed to them? I don't
Yeah.
honestly know how all the social media stuff works. I'm
No, I
curious
know,
about that.
but even if it's that, there must be more to the position if we could get
Well, he
some,
does stories all the time. And there's also the newsletter. Do you read the newsletter?
all the time.
Oh, okay. So what's,
Is there something else? No, that's why I felt horrible bringing this up when he was here, but I'm saying it the way I feel.
what else do you need him to do that he's not doing?
I didn't want to bring up one person, I just brought up the
It's the
position
position, okay.
itself.
Well, I mean, every time you read a letter in the journal that says, special to the journal, that's from him. Those articles about the schools where it says special to the journal, those are all articles that he's putting in the journal about the schools.
I
Dr.
I don't
Kelly,
read the
just ask
journal,
that Before you.
Melissa
before
doesn't
you
before
go
you
into our
go.
reserves, if you could just take another look. I know you guys have been going through this.
Yeah.
since home, but
Yeah.
you could just take another look and see if there's anywhere else we can
And
make cuts.
we can definitely do that. And one other thing that I wanted to talk about that we haven't discussed is part of the intention in focusing on positions that folks are vacating is because it means that you don't have to pay unemployment. If we start looking at positions that people occupy, and we start doing reduction in force or telling people that they are no longer invited to work here, without giving them a different position, then we go into a position where it's actually costing the district more money. You would have to let go of 3 people for every 2 positions you want to recover from in order to make the same budget adjustment. So that's why we have leaned heavily toward positions that are either vacant or that we know we can move the individual who might be in that job to something else. So like a communications person, that would be a layoff. Of a job or a discontinuation of a job.
But what I was asking was, is there a,
Job description?
yeah,
Yeah, I can send that to you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that I'm not just looking at a newsletter assuming that's his job or,
Um,
or her job.
all right, so I just want to make sure that I heard. Everything. I don't know if, do you all have to like vote on like John had mentioned, the health techs, JROTC.
I was gonna take a vote for a recommendation from the Ways and Means, so whether that, I
Okay.
Are we ready? We're not ready to go approve the budget.
wasn't approving the budget, I was approving putting those things back in. Well, I'm asking.
So the other thing I should have said too is, we are already looking at using 3.5 million of the district reserve. I'm warning you that you're gonna be in dire straits 2 years from now.
Right,
Um,
like you have to look back, this committee has to look over this budget and there's any suggested
I'm not comfortable. with
changes, you
3.5.
guys need to propose them.
Just, I don't.
Otherwise, we're gonna be in trouble.
Then I'm gonna
Yeah.
use. I would-
It's not what we personally think, it's looking at the budget as a whole.
Numbers.
That we have, somebody mentioned that we have slashed all of the non-salary accounts. We can't slash them any further.
No,
I didn't see that. You didn't-
Yeah.
you did.
Yeah,
was a lot.
we've gotta talk about positions. We do have additional positions, the ones that the 20 or so that we talked about already would not have an impact on class size. We're trying to avoid impacting class size in any way. I should say they wouldn't have an academically significant impact on class size. Like obviously those 2 rooms at the Beachmont are now gonna have 20 kids instead of 13. So that you would say is an impact, but I feel very confident that 5th grades can operate well with a class size of 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we can take another look and see if we can find a few more positions outside of the classroom. The only other positions we cut were the health aides and 1 maintenance position, which again was vacated by a retirement. And spoke to Carl.
there was a tradesman.
Correct, yep. And it was a tradesman who's been on a long-term absence and we've been managing without anyway, and Carl said that we could continue to manage without, until we find sunnier budget days. Am I
I
forgetting
think,
anything?
Dr. Kelly, and John, I think we all agree that we wanna maintain the student-facing positions,
Mhm,
and those are most important.
absolutely.
And where the open positions are and or, non-student facing positions, the ones that could be taken a look at first, if we have to. But I don't know if anyone, I mean, listen, I know that, and I think, John, I fully agree, you know, some of these positions are, you said there's 6 health aides left?
7.
6 or 7, do you remember?
We pulled the budget names in February, so there may have been someone that's fallen off since they're active right now.
And our intention with them was to hopefully move them, a lot of what they're doing right now, I know they're health aides, but a lot of what they're doing is helping around the front office, welcoming people, doing that kind of stuff. And what we were hoping to do with them is move them into some of the security positions that we have open.
That's what I wanted to ask too. You say a lot of them are they're all full-time,
They're all full-time.
but they don't all have benefits. If they don't want a part-time position, are they laid off?
So the security positions are full-time. We were hoping
Okay.
to find enough full-time positions that they would transition into a different spot. And that some of them would say, no, thank you, I'm good, see you
Mhm.
later. And that with between those 2 things, that we would be able to place the 6 people.
I mean, I prefer where they are, but when we're talking about not losing people at small money,
Mhm.
I want something there. For any of them.
And just from an equity standpoint, I'll just to, you know, from the ARPA funded positions at the city side, we're down. We're going lower, and we've incentivized, we've kind of said, hey, listen, if you're in an ARPA funded position and the position opens up, apply for it. Because the ARPA, we made a very clear hard date. ARPA is done after this budget, so we went from, you know, before when I came in, 35 or 40. ARPA funded
Down.
positions down to 7.5, and by the end of this budget cycle, we'll probably be down to 5. So it's more about just general normal attrition rather than having to have that tough conversation, but telling them to apply for the open positions that may come up, and they come up, not hundreds of them, but a couple of them, and so we don't, you know, we don't have to, you know, tell people they're not welcome here because they're all loved.
Yeah.
But again, it was good while ARPA money and ESSER money was good while it lasted, but it is officially pretty much gone.
I think it would be helpful to us if the subcommittee or the whole committee, I don't know how you're gonna do this, but could agree on what you need us to get that bottom line number to. The number that right now is 3.469.
Which means more than what you have offered.
Correct.
Yeah.
But we need a goal. And then we can go look at where we think that we can.
Before I just, because I have to prior engagement, can you, next time, just, when I sit down with you, address, the declining enrollment on the ROTC?
Yes, I made a note of it.
Okay, no
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I think transportation is one big thing that we need to really look at the numbers. Um,
Yeah, but that's not.
It affects
That's
their
it,
budget, not
yeah.
ours.
Yeah.
This number right here.
With all due respect.
no,
No,
I
you're right.
realize
You're-
it.
with
I
all due
realize
respect.
it.
No, you're 100% right though, and that's, I mean, it's fair.
I guess. I am worried about the little kid from Oak Island, and I know I'm not trying to scare
We
you.
all-
No, I didn't say you weren't, but middle school, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the lottery. We can talk about that tomorrow, so that's not a problem for
But we
me.
have the
But they're two
lottery, no
separate-
matter
they're two
what, we
separate-
have it.
Oh.
And those children aren't asking to be transferred from North Revere to Garfield. They were told they had to go there if they didn't have their first and second pick. So how can you say, no, start walking when it comes to the middle school, when we really only have to do up until sixth grade? We don't have to do high school.
We don't know.
We
No,
don't.
We don't know, Preston. No, we're not allowed to.
We do.
Well,
We
don't-
do
We
over
do
2
high
miles,
school.
Over 2 miles, yeah,
Yeah.
under 2.
right,
But if,
but
but
we don't have
if
to
we,
do
if
that.
we go the other way. We, again, go back to my analogy, the kid from Oak Island's walking to school. If we go to 2 miles, Oak Island's about a mile, and I did it on Google Maps, it's less than 2 miles, it's not over 2 miles. So my problem is if that Point of Pines bus became full and couldn't stop and pick up the kids at Oak Island, those kids are walking.
Can we not necessarily, there's a bus line right there, I'm sorry, Aisha.
Sure,
I just want to get back to this number
Talking
and give it
about-
Diana Gold.
Yeah,
I don't have one, so I don't wanna give you one that I don't. not sure.
I would say try to reduce it by half. I know that sounds insane, but since no one else is coming up with a.
Oh, cut that. yeah.
To get that to 1.7?
It's a goal, it's a goal.
Okay,
I think I think under 2 would make me a little more comfortable, but. and
What
it's
was
gonna
that,
require-
You're definitely laying
Under
people off
2
then. You're definitely
Oh,
laying
that
people
would
off,
be
just so you
nice.
know that.
yeah,
No, I'm
Yeah.
making sure everyone understands.
John, that's what budget cuts are. Like, you're gonna, next year, would you wanna be in this position 2 years from now, when you're gonna have to lay people off? Cause that's exactly what we're gonna have to
that's
do.
what's gonna
If
happen.
you don't look at these, you have to look at these numbers.
I have, I've looked at them, right? I looked at them all the time.
Have a suggestion on a cut.
Cause
This is your committee. Like,
I
this is what
understand.
you guys are tasked with.
I understand,
But in.
But-
in
but
a
we-
year or
but
2
we
years
also-
from now, we're gonna be the bad guys. We might as well be them now when we're the bad guys all around, rather than 2 years from now when we're.
And it was so easy in the past years that we wanted to keep adding on and adding them on, and I kept saying, we're gonna have fiscal cliff, we can't keep adding, and now we're getting to that point, and it's not fitting.
right, we knew this was coming, it came earlier than we thought it was, thank God we saved.
We're lucky with. Yeah, and you.
We're lucky with the
It's
reserves.
good.
I'm like, hello?
No, we did into the reserves this year. It's only so much less that we're gonna have.
It's a less of a burden for the following, not even burden, I don't, that's
Okay,
wrong
sorry.
word.
Thanks, Anthony.
I mean, Matt, am I overreacting? Please tell me if so, because I'll chill out.
No. So keep, I know we've gotten into the weeds, which is totally appropriate and necessary in this conversation. But keep in mind that we built up a reserve wisely over the last 3 fiscal years, the best that we could. That sits at a certain figure.
What's the certain figure if you don't mind?
10 million.
Yes.
Well,
It is meant to carry us. Not just through the immediate loss of ESSER funds. But so we just had the phone call today and it was ominous
Mhm.
that when SOA. The 7th year of SOA is exhausted. Districts like Revere are gonna feel that.
Mhm.
And other communities are jealous. Of the benefits we've gotten, we would say appropriately from SOA. But in other words, it is a possibility, no one has a crystal ball. That the 8.7 that we saw this year. Might be 3 or 4 when SOA doesn't exist, depending on 100 other contextual factors.
or it could be something else.
it's not gonna be better, I can promise you that. No, I've been in every metro mayors or every large group regional meeting I've been in. Every community is screaming about their funding and the SOA communities are like this. standing there
Exactly,
going,
yeah.
Because you know what, I was
Because
there
it's been
when we
very
signed
rushed.
the SOA, when he
Right.
signed that bill, I was there. And being on the state school committee, I can tell you 2 months ago, when people have been working on their budget, they'll say, Stacy, are you still happy that you were there for the signing? Thinking that we were gonna be in dire straits right now, and I was like, I think we saved our money really well, not me personally, but everyone else. So we did good.
no, there's no
We
doubt,
did
there's
good.
no doubt, and I don't think it's gonna, this is where I get nervous, is that $10 million. If we're dipping into a third of it this
now.
year,
Third of it now.
when SOA runs out, it's gonna be really bad. I'd rather keep as much of it so that actual cliff, the real cliff, this is
The real cliff,
This is not
no,
the real.
we're talking 2 years.
The real cliff comes, we need to have that reserve built up so that it's not, bad, that bad.
FY 27 is gonna be the last installation of SOA money.
Yep.
And if you go back and look at our school committee meetings, when we started SOA, it actually was not even related to ESSER. But when we started the SOA planning, we came up with this plan to try to save up $10 million. It was our goal. We achieved it. Kudos to us. But the plan was to have that to get through fiscal 28 and fiscal 29. And so that the district would have a 3-year off ramp to the dire straits.
But it's starting now.
But it's starting now, which is unfortunate. And I do hope that whatever calculus was done in the net school spending for this year is different next year, and that next year we won't
Well,
have
that's
to
my
hit the fund
point.
again.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, Pat, I understand what you're saying, but in all due respect, this municipal side is different than the school side.
Yeah.
And every politician talks about schools. They do. Everyone does.
Yeah. No, I just think.
I mean, like that millionaire's
but I
tax,
also-
a lot of it's going to the T this year, but a lot of that's supposed to go to education too.
Right.
So I'm
Right.
sure if SOA ended, when it does end, that might get flipped. Who knows? My issue is this, the reason I want to stay kind of pat and, excuse me, want to stay here was, my hope is every year, I ask teachers every year, are the kids better? Are the kids getting better? Are they getting past COVID? Are the kids getting more regulated? Are the kids, are they accepting school a little more? Because they were home for a year. And every year I ask them, are the kids getting any better? And I think for the most part, they say yes,
Yeah.
they've gotten better. So yeah, I don't want to cut all these supports this year. Do we have to cut them next year? Possibly, but that's one more year that this group of kids will be a little more supported. That's all I'm trying to say. I understand what everyone's saying, but if you cut $1.7 million, you're talking probably 100 jobs. Depending on who's, well,
No.
depends,
No,
at least, well,
we
17,
have
17,
jobs.
20, but then you gotta look at the unemployment, and then they might not be the right jobs. Cause you're gonna have to hire some back. I mean, you have to have so many math teachers, so many English teachers, so many special
Yeah.
needs teachers. Well, you're kind of stuck in sometimes in a way, you can't just, unless you wanna have 30, 40 kids in a class. So you're kind of stuck. So I'm hoping that, and I'm not a rosy picture, I try to be realistic, but I'm trying to get through this year. And yeah, could next year be worse? Fine. But I mean, if you lay off 17, 20 people, you're laying off 30. And 30 hurts.
We understand, I know, we
No, I'm just trying to
definitely have to
say- I'm
take
just
a
trying to
careful
say-
look at it, but one other point I wanna make, before we leave, because I think it's really important. Is that the Student Opportunity Act was passed because of the inequitable funding that was happening in urban
Mhm.
districts like Riviera. And a lot of people look at that and say, well, look how much money the school has, look how much money the schools have. We should take some of that money. We're finally just getting right sized with our budgets. And we have scrimped and saved and moved along. I mean, there were years that Matt and I managed a $2 million increase, which didn't even cover the teacher salary increases. And figured out how to get through that. And we have been incredibly blessed by the Student Opportunity Act these last 5 years. That it has been implemented, but that's still money that is deserving, that our kids, these kids deserve to have. We're still about $4,000 less than the state average on per pupil spending. The city of Riviera is, even with that Student Opportunity Act money. So I want to make sure that we're clear about that, because a lot of people do think it's like, oh, they have all that extra money. No, we have the money that we should have had all along.
No one in this room was expecting to see this large 7-digit red figure. That's why we've led the budget presentations with the 8 punches that have come successfully. that are causing this. If even 4 of those weren't on here, we might have been done with this meeting in 20 minutes and said, at the most, we're gonna tap 10% of our reserve. But it's not reality because of those things that we have faced, and it's a very hard thing for the committee to think in terms of a multi-year strategy. But it's more likely that we're not seeing even some of the increases that we've seen this year. And discipline here will enable you to handle those further, and there's trade-offs as we go. So strategically, there's been no mistakes, it's just a tough reality to face.
Mhm.
I mean, we're already talking 22 teacher positions already that we're not gonna fill. But we're still gonna have to hire some people. I'll say that till Kyle's.
That's true, yeah.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So there's already 22 affected there. To get down to 1,000,007, I mean, I don't know, 30, 40 people.
We'll have to take a look at it and think about it. And we'll think about not just teaching positions, we'll think across the district.
That's what I hope.
So that's why I asked the
My,
coaches.
my suggestion is in no way like the teachers shouldn't be a thought at this point.
Mhm.
You know, for me, it would be,
A wide angle lens, look
Yeah,
at
really
everything.
wide and.
Better look at everybody.
Yeah.
And not even like people's actual positions, although you already cut supplies and stuff.
Yeah, we did the very best we could. Draconian cuts to the non-salary side of things, so it's
Right.
gonna have to come from salary, but we can
Just-
be contemplative about
Yeah,
where.
also. Strategically, right now, we have 5 million. Estimated to be unspent funds from this year that must be spent in the subsequent year. But that's my best guess in the month of May. As every week passes now, as we hit the, that number comes tighter and tighter. So we may also be able to mine into that and say, okay,
Right,
we have confidence that that number is gonna be 5.4.
Okay,
So then every dollar that we don't spend now
yeah, exactly, goes towards the number. we're
can help
trying to-
reduce what you
yes,
use.
exactly.
You just don't wanna be blindly saying, oh, I guess.
Have you initiated a freeze on the spend, so there's no Christmas in July? I mean, it'll be more like in June or May?
April 27th, we stopped.
Okay.
Very good.
Yeah,
But then also you can look at, obviously, what we're doing on the city side, if there's expenses that will carry us into the new fiscal year, we're approving. If there's expenses because someone wants to stockpile or have celebratory items, it might be.
yeah, except for new tuition placements, new transportation placements, or plant and maintenance emergencies, no one's allowed to spend anything.
Yeah, well, that's relieving to hear that you're gonna have some carry forward to contribute and potentially.
Right, I felt very confident about the 5, but we'll do work over the next 2 or 3 weeks to,
Oh, besides, the city hasn't charged you for it, they should.
but I'm saying.
It would
that-
help if the city took the $500,000 in extra custody charges this year on Schedule 19
What-
back. I said it would help if the city took the $500,000 in extra charges on Schedule 19 back.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is we'll be doing all,
no, they wanna control it.
we'll be doing all of that work. If the carry forward can contribute to some of that
Yes.
with confidence. What we don't wanna do is just, naively say, well, just make that number that, because it makes it work.
Yeah.
That's why I can't give you a number. I can't,
That's a
in all good
decision.
faith do that, because you cut 30 positions, I don't know what that looks like.
The other thing that we learned from Desi today is that the school committee can vote a budget using the allocated amount from the city as a placeholder, and we can still negotiate Schedule 19 beyond July 1. So that made me feel a little bit better, because I was thinking that we had to try to figure this out before the school committee could vote on the budget in June. So I feel better knowing that that doesn't have to happen.
Is there a drop dead date for the budget?
So the
Gotta
Schedule
go to the city
19,
council?
the city council,
Our budget goes to the city council and gets voted together.
they don't vote on
No, no,
this
but they,
budget.
no,
Give
hold
us an
on.
appropriation.
That's the
Yes, right,
appropriation,
but
yes.
they vote, we need to finish our budget by a certain time to hand it to them. We do.
Well, they'll assign an appropriation.
That's why I was wondering what the
to
drop
us,
dead date was. Yeah, what's?
Yeah,
And
and,
then they know that's what you will be appropriating.
Right.
yeah,
But, so we can do it safely at the June meeting.
correct. And then, John, we've done this in the past too, like if they call me up for the budget hearing before you voted, I just present it as, please note, this budget has not yet been voted by
I
the
was just
school
trying to get a
committee.
date in my head so
Yeah.
that we can schedule some meeting.
I know,
Well,
Semantics.
yeah, but so we can vote a budget, the school committee can vote a budget. Based on the appropriation number, given by the city, even though there's not a Schedule 19 agreement. MOA, and then we'll work, the state's gonna work with us, I think I said this already, the last week in June. To try to negotiate, an agreement that's fair to everybody.
Diane, can I ask, only because it's been on social media a little bit too much, that some people have been told that they are being let go because of our budget.
And that's not true.
Well,
People
I-
have been told they're being let go because they don't have a license. So they've been told to be prepared.
Or
for
their
non-renewal.
evaluations.
Or their evaluations, yeah. No one has,
I just want to make.
you
that
know,
out there.
sometimes people say things like that because they don't want to acknowledge that they don't have a license
Mhm.
or. They didn't finish what they were supposed to finish in order to get licensed, so they might. Try to use a different reason, but no one has been. Let go because of budget.
Not when it hasn't even.
I know, I
finalized.
know, but they, they were saying they were threatened.
I heard the same,
What?
I heard the same.
If you tell me who they are, I can look into it, but
I'd have to go on social media and get names,
Okay.
They were
but,
threatened? Like how?
They were told they were leaving,
Oh,
they're gone,
they were
due to
threatened.
budget cuts. Due to
Um,
budget cuts, not due to performance, which you can't even do
Not true.
because
Well,
you
it-
orally can't do that.
Yeah.
I
You can't.
think
It's-
maybe
If you're a labor
the
lawyer.
one I'm thinking about would be evaluation.
Okay.
So that would be my, but I'm not there, so I wouldn't know,
Mhm.
that's why I want to, you put it out there.
I can. Tell you affirmatively that no one has been told that they're being let go because of budget cuts.
Mhm.
Well, you
Okay,
guys know best.
so
You guys
where
know
to
these
go from
positions
here?
inside out.
Dr. Kelly will present some more budget cuts, and we'll try to, just for a number, I guess, 1.7, just to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's not hard and fast,
Try to
No,
get there.
try to get there and see what that looks like. If you could possibly maybe, without going crazy, maybe some class sizes as far as that goes. Cause I mean, you can say cut this, cut that, but there isn't that much there, and unfortunately, the teachers make up the bulk of that unit, so that's what you're basically looking at. This,
Just to be clear, so the mandate for work from our side is. That the 3.4 deficit we're looking at. Is there a way to chip that down to show 1.7? But some of that could come from additional anticipated carry forward funds.
Oh, that would be
Yes.
even
if we have
better
confidence.
than cuts.
Right.
Definitely. I mean.
yeah, I
If
hate
it's
to
something
see it.
buried in the backyard next to my time capsule from freshman year, to go for it.
It's
Just wanna
funny that you
reduce
say
this
that, so
number.
we had a meeting
I
about the
do.
McKinley School.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And there's a big rumor out there that there's a time
have
capsule
two.
buried under the flagpole.
Yeah,
there's one buried here too,
we
right
did
outside
it
of the
right
cafeteria. I
before it
buried
was built.
Oh, really? So we're gonna look for that.
School?
You gotta open it.
Yeah.
You didn't
I'd love
put
to
it
bury
in.
it.
I find it first.
100 years ago.
Before we start,
Yeah.
No, the-
I'm old,
Hell,
but.
Yeah, yeah, I'd
Near
love
the
to.
gardens.
Wait,
Before,
so you
yeah,
have twins
we
now?
put two, one's at the new school
Yeah.
too.
That's not
This
that
was
old.
when the.
One's at the new and one's at the
Oh,
hill.
that would be fun.
Yeah,
That would be so much fun.
I mean, the hill and the McKinley. A lovely picture of me at 300 pounds. but,
all right, anything else?
Um,
Thank you and Godspeed.
Thanks.
I won't do it today, but based on your schedules, when we schedule a meeting in a week or
Yeah.
two, I guess.
Yep.
Anything on schedules?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Motion to adjourn.
Thanks,
Aye.
Steve.
I have to second it, maybe I won't.
No one will see us. Second.